Hail, hail, and welcome to A Celtic World North America. We are a YouTube channel that puts the spotlight on the worldwide Celtic support. On this show, we bring you some of the views of the North American sport. And tonight we get to introduce a new American CSC and a couple of new American Tims, which is one of our favorite things to do. That and bitch about Celtic a little bit. So sometimes. This week, we chose our new manager, we think. There's been no formal announcement, which is kind of odd, but it appears that it will be MON, Martin O'Neill, which is, hard to complain about, other than maybe it's a bit of a lazy appointment and may foreshadow that the club might be headed down that same old Celtic road that we've done in the past. But we'll get into that as the night goes on. But first things first, I want to introduce the panel tonight. And as always, Chris, how we doing?
Doing all right. It's kind of warm, but summertime. Stuff. Yeah.
Same here. We just had a thunderstorm pass through, and I was
nice
hoping to get rid of that quick so it doesn't knock my power out or anything and fuck up this podcast.
Always a worry, right now.
Yeah. Seems like it's gone now. And then we got Shaun from Chicago. Shaun, welcome.
Hi, how you doing? Yeah, I'm also a little under the weather. I was telling you before. So, like I said, this is my Jordan flu game moment right here. Totally proportionate analogy. It's going to be heroic.
Push off on Brian Russell and hit the game winner.
No problems with that. Let him play.
I don't either. He hit that as well as you possibly could.
Yeah.
And last but not least, we have Mike from Cincinnati. Mike, welcome.
Thank you. Hail. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you guys on. I know, Shaun, you're always great in the comments in the chat. I wanted to get you on because it's. Like me and Chris always say, the chat kind of feeds the podcast. It helps add to the content and makes us laugh. I know Chris, because Chris can't always see it the night of, so he follows up with it the next day and he's gets back to me. Oh, the chat was hilarious last night. Finally get back to those ones that I don't put on the screen. So
happy to help add to the experience. It's kind of a dream come true. Dream in 10 years in the making. I was telling Chris at Detroit that I used to listen to his old podcast with him and Dr. J and a couple other names I'm forgetting back in 2016. So it's kind of a full circle moment for me.
Right on.
Yeah. So before we jump into, I wanted to talk about you guys' kind of Celtic origin stories. Let me throw up some of the early hails. Brady, and we got to get Brady on. I think Brady was in Detroit too. He's another guy that I got to reach out to and get on. Yonti, I know.
That's a member of ours. Yes.
Yeah. We follow each other on Blue Sky now. Hail. Hail. Oh, sorry. Hail, Cassandra. Hail, Shaun Kelly from Detroit. Shaun was our first guest that we had on the program, so. And then, hail, Chris. Another Chris.
Yeah, me too, Chris.
And I think you guys are we're up into the mid 30s on the amount of guests we've had on in our, I think this is our 49th episode we've done. So it's just showing off the depth of the support over here in the US and Canada. We've only had one guy from Canada on, which we need to improve on that. But we always try to talk about how you got into Celtic, because we all have different stories. A lot of the guys we have on are Scottish or Irish, and so you can kind of get that they kind of grew up with it. But us guys over here, it's kind of always a little different. But I'll start with you, Shaun. Shaun, how did you get into Celtic originally?
It's a long story with a lot of inflection points, so it's difficult to tell it briefly, but I'm going to try. Around 2004 or 2005, I was kind of up in the middle of the night, and whenever I couldn't sleep, I would always watch SportsCenter. And if you remember, that was like the golden era of ESPN sports coverage. It was like really good highlights packages, really good in-depth analysis, and like actual journalism, which it's not anymore. It's kind of a disgrace now, but that's beside the point. And on one of those nights, they were showing a highlights package that included, I believe it was a UEFA Cup match between Celtic and Barcelona. And if I remember correctly, I might be getting my wires crossed. It was a match they played shortly after the terrorist attacks in Madrid. So I think like 2004, that time. I was like 10 or 11, so that age range. And I think the reason why they showed that was because they had a really like moving edition of You'll Never Walk Alone pre-match. And they showed it on the highlights package, and that blew my mind. I'm not actually from Chicago. I'm from the Bay Area. I'm from San Francisco. I lived most of my life there. I was always a very devoted and passionate fan of Bay Area sports. But something that I think North American sports culture, at least outside of like college football, which I didn't grow up with, kind of lacked that intention and passion that you would see in like European football. So seeing that as a kid just totally blew me away. I had no context for what I was watching. I didn't know the difference between, or like the nuances between like the league season and continental competitions. Like I didn't know what Champions League was or UEFA Cup was at the time. I didn't know that was all different. I just knew that like that was something I'd never seen before, was that sort of display of like fan passion, emotion, and intensity. And so it stuck out to me right away. But at the time, I still wasn't really sure how to investigate further. I don't know that I was totally allowed on the internet at the time, so I couldn't like really research it like I would have liked. But I want to say it was a summer or two later was the '06 World Cup. And I remember from like watching that highlight, watching other, sort of just isolated soccer matches on TV, that I wanted to like follow the '06 World Cup in Germany more closely, see what was going on. And I had a cousin who was very into the sport, and he had a catalog that was literally the soccer.com catalog. Like I think it redirects to a new website now, but at the time it was literally, if you typed in soccer.com, it'd be like this worldwide superstore of all these different professional clubs.
I remember that.
Balls, shin guards, equipment too. And I was flipping through this physical catalog he had gotten. Did I? Or sorry.
You're good.
Sorry, I got a weird pop-up. Anyways, I was flipping through that catalog, and I saw a half-page ad, and I saw Celtic again, and I recognized it clicked with me instantly because of the iconic kit from what I had seen in that highlights package. And I was confused because it said like buy a jersey and celebrate the champions of Scotland, and I was like, Scotland? Like there's a four-leaf clover on their chest. Like that's an Irish club. I didn't know. I literally didn't know at the time. At this point, I think I was allowed unsupervised on the internet, which probably wasn't a good idea. And I was able to say, okay, I can type this into a search engine, look into it further. And so that's when I kind of became acquainted with the club, its culture, its ideals, which even though 12-year-old me didn't have the most fully actualized politics, I liked the idea, the national origins, and just the concept of being an immigrant club really stood out to me. And then from there, just kind of like progressed. And I don't know, I got more and more into it. Summer of 2007, I visited the UK and Ireland, and that's where I bought my first Celtic top, which was the iconic Lisbon Lions 40th anniversary. I have a little banner back there as well, but I don't know if you remember the kit from that year. It was an awesome one. It was a belter, as they say. And yeah, I just tried to look up how to watch matches. I became aware of the CSC that was, well, there's two actually in the Bay Area, but the one closest to me was the original San Francisco CSC, which is in the suburbs in Millbrae by the airport, which is essentially my backyard. I grew up in San Mateo, which football fans will know as American football fans will know as the hometown of Tom Brady. So that's kind of the area I was coming from. And there was a place like literally 15 minutes away from my childhood home where I could watch these matches. I showed it to my mom. I was like 13 or 14 at the time. I said, hey, can I go? There's a game on at 4 a.m. And she was like, absolutely not. You cannot go. I'm not taking you to that. And so it took me a few years to find my way there on my own when I had my own transportation and more free will, I guess. But then I did. And that particular CSC just became like a second family to me. And now it's just kind of a huge part of my life. If I'm traveling and there's a match on, I try to find the nearest Celtic bar, and I've been successful in doing that most of the time. It's actually kind of insane how easy it is now, because those of us who have been around since like 2000s, 2010s will remember an era where it really felt like only the A markets had active supporters clubs, and now they're popping up everywhere, which I think is a really good development. So yeah, like I think the past 4 years, the last 4 cup finals, I've watched it in a different supporters club bar. I watched 2023 with the Detroit CSC. Shaun Kelly's become a very good friend of mine. 2024, I was back in Chicago, where I now live, and 2025 was in DC. And then this most recent one, I was actually in Copenhagen, and I was able to catch a match there. So yeah, it's just been a really tremendous journey. And I can't imagine my life without Celtic at this point.
Yeah, dude, I'm the same way. And I kind of got into Celtic at the same time. I was older than you. I wish I would have found them when I was 12, 11 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But and that's kind of similar. It was just like you discover them however you discover them, and then it's for like that gradual build to the point now where it's like the number one thing, outside of family in your life. And it's dude, I love it. So that's a great. You're not gonna be able to talk by the end of the night with being sick, dude.
I mean, I'm gonna hang in there. Don't worry.
That's good.
He's a trooper.
Whiskey helps.
Oh, I have no doubt. Yeah. So then, Mike, I'll go to you. How did you discover Celtic, and kind of how did that progress for you?
Yeah, I mean, like you, Shaun, I wish I had gotten into them younger, but I would say that I've been aware of Celtic for a while, and I think probably I don't know how long ago it was, but probably 10 years ago or something. I remember seeing something. It was on TV. I don't know if it was ESPN or something, but just talking about the biggest rivalries in soccer, and it was obviously they talked about Celtic and the Huns, and I remember just being captivated by that. But at the time, I was not a huge soccer fan. I really didn't get into soccer until later on when Cincinnati finally got even before we got a MLS team. When they were in the USL, they were in the University of Cincinnati football stadium, and just going to matches there was amazing. It was, the atmosphere was awesome. And then, obviously they moved on and went to a brand new stadium, and I felt like I was missing something. It was missing something. Like the stadium is beautiful and the fans are amazing, but I didn't. The vibe was off, and I just started. I didn't really have a EPL team or anything like that, and I was just looking for something else to kind of sink my teeth into, another team in soccer, and preferably in Europe. And I don't know, it felt like things were kind of like circling around me, where all of a sudden I started getting, like, on social media, I started getting more Celtic content, and then I started checking out the history of the team, and I'm an Irish history buff, so like diving into kind of the origins of the team just made me more had more affinity for them. And then just paying attention to the fans, and at the time too, like, things were definitely getting a little bit more rough politically in the world, and just seeing the reaction of the supporters and how they chose to speak out, and felt were bold enough to speak out when others weren't. And so I just that even drew me in further. And then I think I started following on Instagram the Pittsburgh supporters club, and then Detroit, and I was jealous, to be honest, because, I knew we didn't have a supporters club, or at least I wasn't aware of one. I've learned more of the history of Cincinnati's supporters since then, but just seeing how people were getting together to watch, and we here in Cincinnati we've got supporters clubs for all the EPL teams, but like having a nothing like the Celtic folks. So my wife and I made the decision to just go up to Detroit for their event in April, and I'd already kind of had the idea of I would be great to start something like what Detroit and Pittsburgh and Chicago and everyone else has, but didn't really know how to go about it. So kind of used Detroit as like a recon mission. Just talking to a bunch of people, and everyone was like, "Hey, whatever you need, let us know." Like,
yeah,
we've been doing this for X number of years, and getting to meet the Columbus folks, and they were like, "Hey, Bobby, was like, whatever you need." He's like, he still texts me people like numbers for people he's met over the years. He says, "I think this guy's in Cincinnati, but I'm not sure." He was there 15 years ago, but actually, that's actually helped a lot, because it's helped me connect with at least a couple folks so far. So so to summarize, like, newer fan, dove deep into Celtic probably, I don't know, 2 years ago, and then decided I'm going to try to get a club going within the past year or so.
Yeah, dude, love it. And I can't imagine a better person to talk to than Shaun Kelly, like, about how to get one up and running.
100%.
Shaun Kelly, Sean Finn in Pittsburgh, like, those two guys, like, just have done an like unbelievable job of getting those two, and both, like,
they get it
right around 5 years old, like, and just doing it right. And so, I mean, the inspiration, I think, to kind of emulate them is that's like perfect. Like, so I love what you're doing. Let me throw up, I have a couple pictures. I'm gonna throw up your crest, because I love your crest. And where did I do my crest? Oh, here it is.
Oh, nice.
So great crest. And like, it's got to be fun. I know, like Chris, you have your bell buckle CSC, and like I know that, so it's fun probably coming up with those stuff. Pittsburgh's got a great one, and like, it's I love those. And like, I just got like, next week we're having the Jersey Shore CSC up in the North Jersey Shore. They started a club up there this summer, or probably this season. And so, like, it's always fun seeing what you guys come up with in terms of the artwork. And Chris, I know, appreciates that a lot, as long as it's not AI.
Yeah.
No AI.
I'm not a fan of the AI.
Yes. But so, in terms of, you were saying, and I do remember Bobby talking about it, but like, you said the history of Celtic in Cincinnati. Like, was there a club beforehand that kind of came and went?
From what I understand, there was one that was pretty strong up until, like, I think like 2014, and then just during the Scottish Cup match, I met one of the former members of that club came, got to talk with him, and he kind of told me that basically folks just started getting to the age where they were starting to have kids, and a lot of the members were kind of around the same age, and people moved away, and it just kind of just slowly fizzled. But I posted on Instagram, there's an autographed jersey from, I think, the 2014 year that the club donated to where they were meeting up. It was a place called Molly Malone's in Covington, Kentucky, which is just across the river from Cincinnati. It's a great bar, but they still display the kit on the wall. It's a cool piece of memorabilia that's there, and that's where we went for the Scottish Cup match, and it was cool. But yeah, we're hoping to the bar we are hoping to have be the home next season as a place called Binsky's, which is in Cincinnati in a neighborhood called Camp Washington, and it's a great, blue collar working class neighborhood. The bar, ironically, is a Chicago themed bar. I would say the owner's from Chicago, so you can go and if you're from Chicago, Shaun, and you're visiting and you miss home, you can come to Binsky's. But but the owner's awesome, and I just feel like the vibe is the type of, I don't know, you walk in and you're instantly friends with everybody, and that's the vibe I want to have for the club. And and we're working out a way that we can open up at 7 a.m. On the weekends that require it. So this picture's from our first actual official gathering. And that's my wife standing in front of me. But it was cool. The kid to, I guess if you're looking at the picture to my right, is from Scotland, Presley, and he came to Cincinnati to play soccer in college, and he's stuck around, and so he was super jazzed to find out about the club, and which I thought was really cool. So hopefully we'll continue to grow and get the word out. And I know there's other fans out there that are probably still around from the last group. And, we do have a lot of, Cincinnati has a lot of big international companies. And I know there's a lot of folks from like Scotland and Ireland that are probably looking for a place to watch the match.
Mm-hmm. So how many meetups have you had so far? Like
just two. Yeah, just two.
Okay.
For the premiership final match, and then for the Scottish Cup.
Okay, nice. I mean, so you had what it looked like 8 to 10 or so in the group. Yeah, and that's, I think, how you start. And that's probably where Detroit started and where Pittsburgh started. And it's just building, and then finding that bar that's going to open is probably the most important thing.
That's the hardest.
And the hardest thing at that stage, and convincing them that you're going to, be able to get 10, 12 guys who are going to drink beers at 7 a.m. and make it worthwhile for the bartender to come in and open up.
Exactly. When I talked with the owner, I was like, how many people do you need? How many people do you need me to bring for this to make it worthwhile? And he's like, I don't know, 4. Because I was like, okay, I can do that. Just me, my wife, and a couple of close friends, we can make that happen. But yeah, so I feel I'm super grateful, and hopefully we can make that a more permanent thing next year. I thought about putting it off, maybe I'll start with the next season, but I wanted to get the word out as soon as possible, and just so that people can start having conversations with the folks that they know and maybe have lost connection with, and and start following the social media and all that kind of. I didn't want to waste time on that. I didn't want to go through a whole summer without really getting anything going. So I'm optimistic. We'll see. Cincinnati could be a tough town for stuff like this, but do my best.
Yeah, you seem motivated, which that's, I think, the most important thing. Probably. And
absolutely.
And it's finding that bar, like you said, if the guy's willing to open up, that's probably the number one step you need to overcome to get things.
That's what everyone said in Detroit.
From what I know, I've never started a CSE, but just from talking to a lot of the guys, just heard a lot of stories. Shaun, what's it like in Chicago? Just compare it. You guys just moved to. Cause I know, what was it? AJ Hudson's was the old one.
We were at AJ's for years, and then we moved to the Embassy. Yeah, just we were kind of further down the pecking order at AJ's. AJ's has like a reputation as one of the more preeminent like soccer bars in Chicago, and just felt like we were getting crowded out. It's I think the main Liverpool bar. I could be wrong. I know there's a lot of soccer bars in Chicago. But yeah, it just got to a point where we felt kind of crowded out. We felt like on big Premier League days, um, like there was a couple Celtic Rangers matches where we were like pushed into this tiny corner, and that's we get a big crowd for those. So it was like pretty claustrophobic. And we were exploring other options, and then we moved down to the Embassy. The owner of Embassy, Paul, not to be confused with Paul McCann, who's our CSC president, different Paul. But he's an Irishman. He gets it. He's been in Chicago, I think, for like 20 or 30 years. It's also a big like rugby GAA bar, so there is some like overlap. He knows what we're about, and he was very receptive. And they have other clubs that meet up there, but they're the more like mid-table clubs, I would say. Like that's like the haunt for like Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, Leeds United. So we're not necessarily always competing with the Liverpools, the Manchester Cities. And yeah, it's been really great so far. I got to credit Paul McCann a lot, who's our CSE president. Again, a lot of Pauls, so I'm trying to be specific. And Alan Wade.
A lot of Shauns, too.
Yeah, exactly. We were joking about that before the line.
Yeah.
Not the most creative naming words in the world, the Irish, but yeah, but just since that move to the Embassy, both Paul McCann and Alan Wade have stepped up big time. They both are from like Paul's from Glasgow, Alan's from Tipperary, but he might still have a season ticket in the standing section, so he knows a lot of people. He's able to help out, like I was able to message him in advance because I knew I was going to be in Glasgow for Flag Day for this most recent season, because I was with my fiance. We were going to see Oasis the following weekend at Murrayfield in Edinburgh. So I hit him up and I was like, hey, like, should I be able to get like a ticket? And he's like, don't worry, I've got you sorted. And he was able to sort us out with the club. So it's good to have people like that who have tangible connections back over there. But also, we've also had sort of a youth resurgence, if you want to call it that. And when I say youth, I mean 40 and under. But that's helped out a lot because I think we're all pretty savvy with social media. I think we have, a lot of the older generation in Chicago. Just respect to them for holding it down for as long as they've had, because it's at this point we're a 32-year-old or a 31-year-old supporters club. But I think that wasn't the whole social media thing, the whole getting the word out thing wasn't necessarily their bag. And so there's been a good core group of us, like I want to say like at this point 10 or 15 people who kind of know how to get the word out, know how to reach out to other supporters clubs and just like network socially. And we've had some really, really good crowds. But we've also taken inspirations from some of the newer clubs like Detroit and Pittsburgh. Like, holy crap, like seeing the crowds they get for having not been around that long is like really inspiring. Like I'm amazed every time I look after a match on Instagram, like seeing like 25, 30 people at those places. And it's not always just for like the derby matches or like the big cup matches. Like it'll be a random like Sunday against Killy and you see, their group photos and it's incredible. So we've been taking our notes from them too. And Chicago obviously has very steeped in Irish culture. Like there are a lot of newly immigrated Irish in Chicago on the South Side. The building I live in now is owned by an Irish couple. So every summer we just get J1s coming in and out of my front door all the time, and they'll see me wearing the hoops and they're taken aback, and I let them know. I'm like, hey, if you're sticking around for the fall, like we show matches at the Embassy. And so yeah, I don't know, it's just like it's been a breath of fresh air, that youth movement I talked about and the move to the Embassy, and it's been a really good couple of seasons for us. Like we had a really good crowd for that match against Hearts, and it was amazing. It was unreal. We were doing the huddle in the middle of the street like they do at the Fenian Boys in Manhattan, so we were able to do that, and that was just just a really kind of a life affirming moment for me. And then of course, like this is a couple summers ago now, but the friendly in South Bend was a huge success too. And again, I got to credit Paul and Alan for organizing the buses for that, because we initially were going to run one bus, and one bus turned into 4 because the interest was so high. And awesome. It was incredible. It was an awesome day. And I met you that day, Shaun.
Yeah, apparently. That was Chris last week with Alan, so I'm not alone. I had to remind Chris that we met Alan. So
I don't know what you're talking about.
It happens a lot to us. So
well, when in Rome.
But I guess Mike, last question in terms of Cincinnati, like, what are your goals? Like, do you is it to become like a Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Columbus, and that range? Like,
I mean, I just want to find all the Celtic fans in the tri-state, Cincinnati tri-state area, and let them know that they have a place to watch the match if they want to. And I would love to have a strong cohesive unit, but it's I don't know. I'm just going to kind of let it do its thing. And do my best to promote it, but I think I have some dreams for the group, but I don't want to put that on future members, because I think I want to decide what the club becomes, but I'm going to use my voice to help rally people, and hopefully I'd love to see the club just get out and also give back to Cincinnati in some way, and to the world at large, but that's down the road.
Yeah, love it. Maybe it's year 2 you start like trying to put your dreams upon the
that's right,
the rest of the group there.
yeah
But dude, I love it. And and I don't forget who mentioned earlier, there's so many new CSCs popping up in the last 5 years. Like it's cool. So great to see, some of like the Pittsburghs and Detroit's, like they're in their like 5th, 6th year, but then they like Charleston's coming up on their 5th year, and then there's like Charlotte just kind of started, and I mean I'm sure I'm forgetting. I mean there's just tons of them popping up, which is like so great to see.
And I think events like Detroit's anniversary, like those are just help strengthen and inspire people to go out and do their thing. Like, I know that there's like an annual convention, but like, I love the regional ones. I hope those, happen just as often.
Yeah. And we've talked in recent weeks, like don't even wait for those like kind of big official events. Like and Shaun, like you said, you're watching Celtic in like the last 4 years, seeing them in the Scottish Cup final in 4 different cities. Like, and I try to do that too. Like whenever I'm anywhere, it's first thing I do is my wife always busts on me. Like I always like kind of have it in the back of my mind, and she's like, I know you're planning something. Like
the hell you say.
She's on to me after all this time. That didn't take much, but and that's like, I'll throw this one up from Typhoon, and I mean you can kind of see, just not that we're a huge show, but like I said, like we've had 35 or so guys on this show over the last year, and we're going to keep doing it. I have so many more people in mind, and and this we haven't even really dug deep into the big clubs in New York and Boston and out west. Like it's tough for us to get those guys on. The Canadian clubs in Toronto, like there's huge clubs in Toronto, like
the legacy supporters clubs.
Yeah,
kind of
so
how I
there's
think of them. People have been around for 30 plus years, like Chicago. Like there's others too.
Yeah, so there's a big presence over here. Obviously it's a huge country geographically, so we're very spread out.
I would actually go, like, if we just look at like South Bend, right? So it was Celtic Chelsea at South Bend, right, at Notre Dame, and I would say the crowd was 50-50 maybe. Chelsea may have had a larger number of people, but the look on any Chelsea supporter's face as they saw, there was a couple hundred of us in one tailgate, and over here was another couple hundred, and we were just this big mass of Celtic people because, I mean, like, that's what the club means to us, right? I always feel like there's a underground current that runs through all Celtic supporters that, like, only what that frequency is, and like when you tap into it, like you feel like, oh man, like we're all in unison together. Like this is something bigger than ourselves. And to that point, like I saw multiple Chelsea people walking by our tailgate that day, just amazed that there was this many Celtic supporters in the U.S. And I don't know what the numbers were from the match or whatever, but just from walking around and being drunk on Notre Dame's campus, I would say that there was just as many people in hoops as there was, that were Chelsea supporters. Now, we were definitely having a much more fun that entire day, but that just, for me, if we're trying to measure like what the U.S. support is or what the North American support is, I would say it's a lot bigger than what people realize. This is something that we've talked about, on the Smell the Love with Dr. J and stuff years and years ago. And Graham talked about it on Beyond the Waves, was that there's this, untapped resource in North America where, they are descendants of immigrants from Ireland and from Scotland. And there's just this, instant connection to somebody that's like, I can relate to you just because of this, right? And, it's something that nobody really taps into, but I would venture to say that Celtics way more represented in North America than has ever been reported. I genuinely believe that.
I agree, and I'll start this comment from Cassandra, which is perfect. And I would have said like we were having way more fun that day in South Bend against Chelsea. If we would have lost that game 4-1, we would have still been having more fun than those. And that's
that was just the cherry on top. Was kind of humiliating though.
yeah.
I've one of my cousins is much more into the EPL than I am. He's a Liverpool guy, and I texted him. I was like, "Oh, is this their B team?" I just assumed. And he's like, "No. This is like most of their starting 11 is playing this match." And I was like, "You're kidding me?" Because when that slate of fixtures got announced, I saw DC United, whatever, but then Manchester City, Chelsea. I was like, "Oh, like we might get humiliated," and we won both. So, but the other thing I wanted to point out is I don't know if you guys remember this, but if you looked at the Chelsea end, they had handed out these shitty little like hand flag things, and so you see they had very clearly distributed them in the Chelsea end at the match, and they were waving them around, and I was like, oh, Chelsea knew that their fans wouldn't create half the atmosphere that we did. Absolutely. We had all of our flags, we had all of our supporters club flags, we had all of our scarves. We were singing the whole time. I still have videos from us on the concourse going nuts. And we made it to one of those Twitter accounts. It was like one of those Twitter accounts that said it was like a Scottish away days or whatever, one of those. And they're like Celtic fans in Indiana. And the people in the comments were like, they couldn't comprehend, because I think a lot of people in Scotland may have written off the USA friendly as a bunch of like plastic patties pretending to be Irish, and that's true to an extent. I'm guilty of that, but the fact is we represented, we showed up, and we created a far better atmosphere than any of those other teams did. I think there was a news report of the match against Manchester City in North Carolina. You had a reporter going around interviewing people. I think our president, Paul McCann, ended up on TV. I don't want to say completely making a fool of himself. No, but like, yeah, they interviewed him, and the reporter was like, interviewing people who had come over from Ireland, who had come over from Scotland, who were based in the United States, and he was trying to find that in the Man City end, and he couldn't. That was the theme of the whole report. Like, where are these, where are the City fans? Where are the people from Manchester? He found like one guy, and yet there was like 50, that he was able to talk to in the Celtic end. So I think people kind of got a shock to the system in a good way. But to Chris's point, and I hope I'm not like bogarting the conversation, but there is like kind of an underground current to it, because in the United States, Premier League football has become very trendy. It's become very trendy for like urban 20 to 30 somethings, like young professionals, to like glom onto like an Arsenal or a Man City or like a Chelsea, and they go to the bars and they watch it, and that's all well and good. But Celtic's not really part of that wave. We get some of that in people who like know us, know what we're about, but it's kind of separate from that. One anecdote I want to share is that my home CSC in San Francisco, there's a whole contingent of that supporters club who's been based in San Jose for years, and they've been there, came over from Scotland, settled in San Jose in the 70s, and people who know the club history might know that Jimmy Johnston played for the Earthquakes in the NASL days. And so at the end of one season, we were having our end of year barbecue after a cup final. And one of the mentions was like, oh yeah, like Jinky used to come over here and drink. And I was like, what? Like, yeah, he used to come over all the time. We used to just, get wasted and, just talk about all things Celtic, Scotland. And that blew my mind, because I was like, if I had become a Liverpool supporter, if I had become a Manchester United supporter, there's no way I'm ending up at some guy's house and him telling me, he's like, oh yeah, George Best used to hang out here, or Ian Rush used to hang out here. That doesn't happen. So in a way, Celtic's obviously a massive global club, but you never feel too far away. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
It's big in the right ways and sort of small and tight-knit and intimate in the right ways as well. So I don't know.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's what I would throw up that to like some of the shit that's happened in Philly, like just guys who have visited our club over the years, like Artur Boric coming over here to play for Bournemouth in a friendly against the Union, and just pops into our CSC that night just to hang out. Awesome. Not even no game on, just comes to hang out. And then like Ronnie Dyla, managing the New York MLS team, walking down the street on a Wednesday afternoon, walks by the Plow and the Stars, and while Celtics playing a Champions League game, and sees hoops on, and didn't even realize that it was a Celtic supporters club, walks in and watches the game with our club. Like shit like that, like probably does not happen for EPL teams, and there's not a club like that I think would draw those kind of guys into it. So you're right, it's like it's more intimate. And I'll go to like and Mike, you mentioned him earlier, Bobby, who we had on last week, who's just one of the funnier people you'll ever meet in your life. I remember him sitting in the South Bend parking lot during the tailgate, and I had one of my friends he's not a Celtic fan, he's a Manchester United fan, and shows up hanging out with us. And Bobby, and I wish I would have like recorded his speech, because he's way more eloquent than I could put it, but like the gist of it was like he's pointing over at the Chelsea people, like who was kind of far off from us, and like he's like, and not denigrating them too much. It was like, what they have is nice, it's great, it's wonderful, but like what we have over here in this section, it's special. Like, and like they'll never understand. Those people over there in the blue jerseys will never understand what we have over here, and I think that's 100% true. It's just a different thing. Like, and that's how like I met Chris 10 years ago, or no more than that now, like 12. Yeah, like 12, 15 years ago. And they become like, you know, the best friends in your life, and you like, and it's all just from following a football club 3,000 miles away, which is, it's just fucking insane. Like, but yeah, I digress. I'm blabbering now.
I don't think it's blabbering.
Yeah, so
I was too, so you're forgiven.
Yeah, we've somehow managed to do a podcast of almost 50 episodes now of it, and it's just insane. Like that, like I said, I wish I would have found Celtic when I was 12 years old. I found it around the same time as you, Shaun, but I wish it was 20 years earlier. Would have been nice.
Mm-hmm.
I got to catch up on comments, but I guess moving on, like the big news, obviously this week, and we talked about it last week, kind of in trying to figure out what Celtic is going to do in the offseason with the manager, and we were very. I mean, I think it was. Robbie Keane was not what anybody wanted, and so looks like it is going to be Martin O'Neill. I mean, no formal announcement yet, which is kind of bizarre, but I'll go to you first, Chris. I mean, thoughts on the hire as long as it's official? I know you're I've weird opinion. It's
like let's just call it what it is. It's weird, right? Like they didn't really announce it, but it got leaked or whatever that Martin O'Neill's going to be, you know, signing up for a 1-year deal, and we don't know what that looks like, and there's no official statement, and you know, I mean, what did we all expect?
No, you're right. Like,
I mean, you know, like half the clubs in different parts of the world. Some of them are going to the World Cup. You know, you got, you know, who knows where all the members of the decision-making board are you know, vacationing right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who knows what's going on? But a formal announcement would be nice so that we could all, you know, go to bed being like, all right, well, Martin O'Neill's in charge, and whatever happens, at least Martin O'Neill's in charge. You know, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I just like, it's just wild to me that it's taking this long to land on Martin O'Neill. Like, if he was the guy, then sign up, you know, give him a contract right after the Scottish Cup or something. You know, like, I feel like the conversations had to have been had
in the showers.
Yeah, right. But you know, and I mentioned earlier before we started live, like, the crazy thing to me is just there's been 2 names, and one of them I think was an obvious no to a lot of us. So why has there only been 2 names, and why is it taking this long? You know, I don't know if we'll ever know, but you know, I'm sure it's just some contract BS, you know, as far as I don't know, stipulations or incentives or whatever, but it's just crazy to me.
Well, yeah, and when you have the world's second oldest professional football manager, it's not like you're competing with another club who's dying for his services either. So, like, what are you negotiating with? It's like I said, I said this before we were live. I'm kind of at the point now, and I don't know if this is an excessively cynical read, but I think it's been made apparent that club ownership, the people who run the club, just have nothing but contempt for the supporters and don't want to do anyone the courtesy of getting this done quickly or doing their due diligence on an actual field of, like, you know, candidates who would make sense to a point, and they don't want to communicate with us. You know, it's just I think a lot of people have talked about the club being run by, like, lawyers and accountants and people who are fixated on the fiscal health of the club. But I don't even think it's that anymore, because what's the good business sense in treating your fans like dirt? What's the good business sense in not announcing what you're going to do and letting the stakeholders in the club, and I don't mean like literal shareholders, but I mean just the people who are emotionally and financially invested as like your constituency, like not letting them know where you're at just seems to me like not good business sense. So it's hard for me to see this as anything other than Desmond and his little lackeys just toying with us. And again, to not even like kick the tires on Askew when he had the season he had at Motherwell, he had been attending matches, that they weren't playing at Celtic Park. It seemed like he was auditioning for the job, and it made perfect sense to at least like give him an interview, like give him a chance to literally audition for the job and see where he's at. And if he's not the answer, then great, but at least you talk to him. And it's clear at this point of how quickly Toulouse like swooped in that they weren't interested. And if the rumors are to be believed, their opening offer was so low and insulting that he just immediately took that job. So I don't get it. And I don't think it has anything to do with any kind of like business acumen or not wanting to be brash. I think it's literally just because Desmond's a spiteful old billionaire hack.
I've been saying that all year. Like, it's the does the board / Desmond, mainly Desmond probably, like despise the fans? Because it does seem like that the way.
Yeah.
Even before whatever happened this week, I feel like it's just some of the shit they've done is just makes no sense, and it's like just almost openly trying to sabotage what we have at the club. Like it's insanity. Like,
see, it's funny because as a Cincinnati sports fan, I'm used to this kind of stuff. Like this is like old hat, every season.
We say that in Philly too. At least we've won a couple championships, but
yeah, we have all that without the winning. So this is, but it's just it's a circus for no reason. Like they could have made it so much easier on themselves had they just been, if they just will be transparent, make an announcement, say something. You know, and
I don't know. I don't get it. Like, and that's what I say. Like, does it? And that's why I think I said in the introduction. Like, does it kind of foreshadow what's going to happen the rest of this season? Like, are we just going to go back to, like last year? I think we talked about it before the show. Like losing that tie against Kairat was, like, we should have won it with what we had, but we should have had more in the tank to bring into that match. Are we just going to do more of the same like this year when we're probably going to play a team similar to Kairat in our qualifiers for the Champions League? Is it going to be again like waiting till we get through that tie to actually fully invest in making the club better? And like everything that's happened so far kind of makes you say, yeah, we probably will go down that same route, because it's almost like they are like, well, we won the double last year, like
exactly,
like why not? Why do we switch things up? But it was different. Like you had to see the failures at the club last year, despite the fact that we won the double. Like it was not a easy season. So.
Well, yeah, and someone in one of our WhatsApp groups pointed out, he said, like, and this is not an original thought, but I am a member of our CSC said, like, I think that winning the league may have just set us back a few years because it gives the board plausible deniability, like to say, like, hey, like what we did worked. And it's like true in the most technical sense of the word. But you have to wonder if maybe like if Hearts had gone on to win, and that humiliation may have kicked things into gear. Like, I don't know. I think we're going to see it get worse before it gets better, obviously. And I have to wonder, like, do we have the appetite for that level of sort of the necessary rebuild? And I think, while I think blame solely lies with the board on their just complete and utter incompetence and contempt. I do think us as supporters need to prepare for the likelihood of it being a bleak few years, and then maybe then that being the catalyst for change. And I think it might have to be, as bad as it was last season at points, like it might have to be worse for them to say, okay, you know what, fine, like let's actually invest in the club. Let's make sensible signings and, sign managers who weren't born before, or during the Eisenhower administration. Just I don't know. I at some point you're gonna have to rip the Band-Aid off. I don't see it. I don't see this kind of rebuild on the fly taking place. Not with the people currently in charge. They're gonna have to be completely deposed in order for any change to occur.
I would agree with you to that extent, but here's the thing that makes me sleep a little bit better with Martin O'Neill with this, right? Is that, and this is purely my own brain speculation here, right? So bear with me on that front. But if Martin O'Neill has a year to get players in, to rebuild the squad, to do X, Y, and Z, and then to hand it off to somebody else, in their brain, they being the decision makers within the board, they are doing the things that you want. Whether that's good or bad, in their brain, that's what's happening, is that they are building something for the future, for to hand it off to Maloney or Scott Brown or whoever they've got in their brain, right? And that might be the mentality. And I'm with you on all those points, and I think that's why I'm okay with this being this period of maybe it's not a full rebuild into a modernization of Celtic Football Club that we're all dying for, right? Maybe it's some hybrid version that we can implement some change in something to build on for the future. I think that's, for me, that's at least the bare minimum that's being accomplished with Martin O'Neill for another year.
Yeah, I mean, and I go back to, like, I don't think it's, like, I love Martin O'Neill, like, and he did an unreal job this year getting us over the line. And, like, when I think about it, I'm like, do I think we're going to win the league this year? I'm like, yeah. Do I think we can win a cup or two? Yeah. But do I think it's a good hire? I'm still not sure, which that's kind of, it's a weird, like, dichotomy to, like, kind of think in those terms. But, like,
I guess that's what I'm saying is that
I'm like the same way.
Like if we think of it more as like it's a gray area that we don't really know all of the ins and outs and this, that, and the other, but at the bare minimum, we have a 74-year-old Martin O'Neill.
Yeah, it's true, and I like, given the other option, I prefer Martin O'Neill. I think that much is clear. I likened it to when Biden won the 2020 election. That's how it felt for me. I was like, thank God, but also, like, I wasn't phone banking for him necessarily. I mean, listen, I wanted Celtic to win the league last year. It was one of the happiest days of my life. There was so much joy in our supporters club. This video of me taking my shirt off that hopefully never sees the light of day. But at the same time, it's just like, it's just a sorry state of affairs that we're relieved to fall back on him when, like, there was at least one option right in front of you. And again, I'm not trying to suggest that Asku's the answer to all of our or would have been the answer to all of our problems. You had a young intelligent manager who is used to working with limited resources, do something incredible at Motherwell. Like, literally, how far is Motherwell outside of Glasgow city center? Like 8-9 miles, like literally down the road. So it's more like, to me, it's it's indicative of their laziness. And one of the reasons why we don't know the ins and outs is because they don't tell us anything.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They don't communicate. And it's insulting. I'm not saying that I should be able to make decisions. Like, I just want to know what's going on. Someone who invests a lot of time and money into the club. Like, Celtic TV is not cheap. And there are people with season tickets who follow the club home and away who spend way more money than I ever will. It's just, I don't know.
No, but I mean, you're absolutely right, and that's why I gotta find this comment. Where's typing in the comment? And this is kind of going along your analogy, Shaun, but like, lads, you have more chance of Donald Trump marrying a woman his own age than Celtic board doing anything sensible, and it's true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And we mentioned like the term laziness, and it is, and lack of communication and about everything beyond just like, all right, we need to let us know if we have a manager. Is Martin O'Neill the manager? It's like, it seems like he is. Is the club on holiday until after the World Cup? Are we looking at players to sign? You know, like
Hearts just signed Calvin Miller right away. Again, I don't know that he would have been the second coming of Jota, but like, that's a player that we maybe should have been on. And like, why was there nothing even reported about us? Like, again, just kicking the tires and being like, would he be a good fit? I think he's an old product of the academy, right?
He is. Yeah.
So he's a known quantity. Yeah.
Actually,
he had a great year for Falkirk.
I watched him play at the Meadowlands. He actually played for Celtic in a friendly over here against Chivas Guadalajara. Like, God, it was probably like 2010, 2009, something like that. But yeah, like, I mean, that, and a guy who came up to the academy, so you got to feel like, and you, like, he's been in the, you know, sitting with the Celtic fans watching Celtic games sometimes. You've seen him in the crowd. Like, so, like, you could have got him if you wanted him, I'm sure, for, but yeah, I don't know. Like, that's what I mean. Are we just waiting? Like, we're not. We signed a few of our, you know, bringing in the Yangs and McCallans and Scales and Forrest, you know, for next year. And it kind of leads into our, like, kind of what I was thinking our next topic would be like, is the playing squad. Like we're going to lose Diaz and Maeda, probably going to lose Engels, who are the two guys who are probably most instrumental if you were named the top two guys who were instrumental in winning those last 7 games, and we'll get a lot of money for them. Is it going to be spent? And it goes back to, like, again, like I said, are we going to spend money before those Champions League qualifiers, or are we going to wait till after we have that Champions League money locked in? And it's just insane. Like, I don't know, but like. So I don't know. Like, I
mean, last year it just seemed so obvious. Like, what do you get for qualifying for the Champions League? 40 million something. I don't know if that's pound or euro, but that's still a hell of a lot of money. And we couldn't do like a couple like £5 million signings to get us over the line so we could get that. It just seems like the ROI is still pretty good on that. I mean, maybe we should have strolled it. Maybe that's what the board was assuming. It's still like, why take that chance? Why leave that money on the table? So I'm not holding my breath. Like I said, I think it's just going to get worse before it gets better. I respect Martin O'Neill for his body of work and what he did last year. I just think that, like, it's just more myopic bullshit from the Celtic board. And I think it's just them sort of dangling the shiny keys in front of us, trying to distract us from the problems that, you know, like, obviously I'd be happy if they won the league, happy if they won the cups. We have to, like, a year and a half ago, we were this close to knocking out Bayern Munich, this year's Champions League semifinalists, knocking them out of Champions League. That would have been the biggest accomplishment for the club in Europe since probably Seville.
Oh, absolutely.
And you take a club like that and then reduce into a club that can't even beat a bunch of Kazakh farmers to qualify at like 6 months later. It's just, so like on the one hand, yes, like you win the league, that's great and all, but like I don't know, I'm just thinking about what potential the club has if it's run properly versus like, oh, like everything's fine if we keep winning the league. And like, yeah, just, I don't know, it's just kind of a depressing state of affairs, Obviously, like, I want him to succeed. I want him to prove me wrong. I'm just so not on board with whatever the vision is. You can even call it a vision.
No, I absolutely agree. So, I mean, I'll start I'll go kind of one by one through players. Like, I'll go to you first, Mike. In terms of Sinisalo, like, do you feel like he is our number one keeper, at least for this year and maybe next year? Or do we need to bring in another keeper to compete against him? I think we do need to bring in another keeper to compete against him, but would you be comfortable with him as the number one guy next year?
I thought he had a decent showing near the end. I think it's always good. Competition is always good. So sure, like if there's someone out there you think can compete and potentially win the spot, then bring that person in. It also depends on how they want to break up the salary pool and where they want to invest. But yes, bring it if there's someone to compete, bring them in.
Yeah. I would say I don't want another veteran like Joe Hart, Kasper Schmeichel, who feels entitled to play almost. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that can ruin because
it's not true competition because there's other baggage.
Right. Not that they are entitled to play and that they would automatically get the job, but like, I don't know. I feel like Sinisalo did enough to at least show he's better than that kind of keeper for me. Yeah. If you can bring in a younger guy or like somewhat comparable age-wise who's going to compete against him, I think that's like perfect in the team setup. And I think you need to do that almost every year. You need to have guys who are competing for positions. But like when it's those guys like those 40-year-old former international star goalkeepers, like that can ruin the dynamic, I think, a little bit. So I don't know. I wouldn't go that route for me. Chris, in terms of the center backs, like CCV coming back, Scales was given a new contract. Then I guess we got Trusty, Murray. Like, are you comfortable with those four? Would you want something new? I feel like we need something new, but
I would like another center back. I would like another CCV-esque type player. Somebody's got some experience and mental toughness, physical toughness. I think center back is like. There's one thing that I do know about Martin O'Neill is that defensively he always wants to have big center backs, big, strong, physical center backs. So if you're going off of that, then yes, we definitely some more at least. Mm-hmm. I'm still kind of depressed that we never got to see. What was his name that was on loan from Manchester City?
Simpson Pusey.
Yeah, Simpson Pusey.
We got to see him once or twice.
Yeah, I mean, but
playing right back to
somebody of that kind of physique and not to use the word physicality, but physicality. Like somebody that kind of passed that eye test. Like, yeah, I want that in my back line for sure.
Yeah, and Benjamin Arthur, I thought he looked pretty solid.
Yeah, he did.
For most of the time that he played for us. So, but you kind of knew that I think that was a low deal, and he was not.
We're not signing him long term.
No.
Yeah, and I think he had a shocker against Falkirk. I believe it was Falkirk. He was responsible for like a really bad goal against them, if I remember correctly. I could be getting the team wrong, but I think he had one kind of a bomb scare. He had a few solid ones. He strung together a few solid performances, but I think he had one really bad one in there. So I wasn't necessarily like, I'm not broken to see him leave, although like I do give him credit for being a good stand-in for a little bit. I just, even if we were in on him, wouldn't have felt super great with him as the long-term answer. And to your point, Chris, about Simpson Pusey, I think, I'm loath to cut the board any slack, but I think the rumors were that he just had a pretty terrible attitude and felt like I think they wanted to give him an assignment with the B team, and he felt like he was above that, which may have been true in the end. But the impression I've gotten from some of the stuff I've read online, which we all know is always true and never wrong, is that he just wasn't. He had some attitude issues that made him. Yeah. So so I think that may have been a factor with him. I feel bad because I like Trusty as a guy. He seems like a decent person, and seems to really love being at Celtic. I think we kind of got to upgrade from him though, because he was kind of the obvious weak link towards the end. Like in that match against Hearts, they were kind of like leaving him alone. They were giving him space. The Hearts players were, because they knew he wasn't going to do anything with it. You kind of saw him confused and lost whenever he had the ball in space. That's just not the kind of player he is. The best performances he's had in a Celtic shirt were, weirdly enough, in Europe, when they're sort of parking the bus and just trying to like hold on for dear life. That's where he's really shown. And while that's great in Europe, you're not going to get that in the league. Like, you're going to be on the front foot. You're going to be facing that. And yeah, I think everyone's like, why is I think there were rumors of teams in Serie A who like wanted to sign Trusty. They're like, why does Lazio want to sign? I think it was Lazio. Why do these teams want him? He's like, he's not that good. And it's like, well, I think he's just a player who would thrive in a system where you're doing a lot more defending. Whereas like when it came to ball distribution and again having it in space, he just looked shaky and unconfident. So I think if there's one player I kind of want to move on from, and again, it's not because I dislike him on a personal level, it's just I don't necessarily think he's someone who would be a good fit moving forward, and we kind of saw that in the end. I'm fine with the long-term deal for Scales. I think in normal circumstances he would be a good squad player for Celtic. I don't love that he's making 55 appearances a year, but again, I think he also does get a little more hate than I think he deserves. Like, I'm perfectly happy with him staying a part of the team's plans. I just wish we had other options. So yeah, I think we need at least one new center back. And I think CCV, if not two, yeah, exactly. And CCV, if he returns to full health, I think he might be at the point in his career where he's trying for a move elsewhere, because he's kind of proven everything he can with Celtic. Again, I haven't heard anything concrete on that front. But here's a guy who's played in the World Cup. Here's a guy who I'd argue one of Celtic's most important players the past couple seasons, actually. Like, when he went down, I was like, oh, geez, like that's almost tantamount to losing Dyson, honestly. Like, he is just rock steady back there.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah. So
it's funny though, like you said, I agree with you on Trusty, and that Hearts game did show that flaw in his game. But he does have those games where, it's those backs against the wall games, where he does shine, like those in Europe, Atalanta, where he was just unreal, and
goal Australia.
Yeah, and the Hun, I think it was the Hun, a couple of the Hun games where he's just been this year. I think maybe the one where we won on penalties. I forget which one it was. We played him twice in a week at Ibrox. So he's good he's good in those type of situations, but I don't know. But he's then in the Hearts game, getting sent off, getting beat by Kabore, and taking him down. Like, he's very susceptible to those kind of things too. So. But I think he is the kind of guy you could probably get a decent amount of money for too. Like, if you did sell him on. So I don't know if I want like you said, Scales making 55 appearances for us. I think he is a good squad player, and he does have a little flexibility that he can play left back a little bit too. So like to have him, I didn't really have a problem with him with the club, giving him a new contract. I forget how long did they sign him for? Was it
3 years?
4 years? Yeah, another 3 years.
2030. It runs
2030.
And just one minor correction. I believe it. Benjamin Arthur mistake I was referring to. I believe it was actually against St. Mirren. He was responsible for one of those goals in the cup semifinal. Someone in the comments may correct me, but I was just remembering it now. I think I was getting my wires crossed a bit, but but this is to say that like that cup final match where I think we, should have never been level at 90. We were so
right. Well, the comments are good at correcting us when we fuck up. I know. So they're definitely good for that. But Chris, I mean, are you comfortable? I mean, this is assuming that we keep Alistair Johnson next year. Like if he has a great World Cup and like somebody comes in offering us 25 million or something for him, I can't imagine us not taking it. But are you comfortable with AJ, KT, right back, left back? I would love to bring Srirachi back, but is he gone already? I didn't even see.
He's gone.
Yeah. I thought he was really good.
We definitely need a left back and a right back. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I love Anthony Ralston. He shows up, he gives 100%, but you need another right back. Everybody's prone to injury, and those positions, specifically left back and right back, but the amount of running that they do, the amount of physical, physicality, kind of, mental toughness kind of stuff goes in. Like we need reinforcements. We need a lot of them. Srirachi would be great. I don't know what happened with all that. So Araujo would be great. I don't know what happened with all that. But yeah, I mean, if AJ and KT are your starting left and right backs, then I'm okay with that. But we've got to have reinforcements. Have to.
Yeah, agree. And I mean, probably particularly left back. Like, I mean, you could say if we have AJ and you have Colby Donovan and Anthony Ralston as two backups, I think I could live with that. But Tierney really hasn't shown that he's going to play 90 minutes like most times out. So, I mean, Srirachi was great. I mean, he brought something different. Like, and I mean, you saw it, especially in that Hearts match, like what he brought.
Yeah, you could argue he's one of the reasons we won the league.
Yeah,
coming on.
Yeah,
like he was incredible. I think the problem there is, like maybe he doesn't necessarily want to back up KT.
Yeah.
Maybe he wants to be the main guy, and I think like again. It's really hard to parse what rumors are legit and what are complete nonsense because so much of that floats around. Mm-hmm. But I think one of those rumors, and again, not necessarily substantiated, it might have been one of those like muckraking Twitter accounts we're always seeing say whatever bullshit comes to mind. But I think they mentioned that Juventus were in on him. And again, when I say that out loud, that doesn't sound realistic. So, but like if it's a club of that caliber in on his services, then like, yeah, okay, then I don't necessarily blame the board for not being able to keep up with that. But I would have loved to have seen him. I just don't know that he necessarily wants to, come on for 15, 20 minutes or 30 minutes at the end of the match. Like maybe he wants to be the guy who plays the full 90. I love him though. I thought, again, arguably one of the reasons why we won the league. He was immense against Hearts. Him sort of like going, chest puffed out, nose to nose with Lauren Shanklin. He got it. He got the assignment. He was so positive moving forward. And I think every time I saw him play, he was incredibly positive. He created so much. So I'm going to miss him, but I just don't think it's realistic that we get him back. And to that end, Araujo too. I I think the problem there is that Bournemouth is not that far removed from spending like a pretty penny to get him from Barcelona. I think they invested quite a bit in him, so I'd be shocked if they wanted to move on from him that quickly. I think that's the problem there, is that like they spent like in the teens for him, like the mid-teens, I believe.
I thought it was like 16. I think.
Yeah, and if you're not going to get a profit off of that, which the Celtic would never spend that much on 5 players, alone, well, embellishing. But like again, I don't think it's realistic, and again, appreciate the service, but
10 million, maybe. No, I said we could. Maybe we'll shell out 10 million, but.
Yeah, maybe.
Particularly,
I think this is the same club that for years Chris Sutton was the record signing until Odsonne Edouard, so for almost 20 years. It's crazy, but yeah.
That's pretty good.
I want to see more from Colby Donovan. Like, I think he looks like he could be solid. Again, well, we need a left back bad to help back up KT. So.
Yeah, I agree. And then like in midfield, I mean, we do need and I think I just put up Alan's comment. I think 6 to 8 players is almost the bare minimum of what we need to bring in. Because you look in midfield, so it's you got McGregor, Negrin, McCowan, Hatate's gone. I mean, there's no way Hatate's staying. And Bernardo too, like, and then I mean, what do you have left? Or Oxlade-Chamberlain? That would be like we need to re-sign him. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done to fill that midfield up. Like, I mean, Mike, do you see any of those? Like, I mean, I feel like we need 2 or 3 players in midfield almost, like to.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking as we were talking, like, with the World Cup, I think some people in the chat like, Alistair's gone after the World Cup. I think we're going to see a lot of shakeups across multiple leagues, and maybe that's what the team's waiting for, is to see who's out there that they can grab. I don't, but I think we're going to see a ton of new faces in every role.
It's a humongous rebuild.
Yeah.
That the club is doing right now. It at least should be doing right now.
And if it's Martin, who's he's rebuilding for one season, I don't know. Like
and that like goes back to.
I mean, if you look at our transfer or January transfer window, like, holy crap! Like I watch the Open Goal podcast a lot, which is, I don't necessarily watch it because I think they're the world's savviest football pundits. But that's like that's Andy Halliday, that's Cy Ferry, and that's Paul Slane. That's their like whole thing. I watch that podcast because I like getting perspective from the ex-players, and even they were just like not hiding their shock at how bad that transfer window was. They were like genuinely, we believe we could have done a better job. If you had put us in that situation. Like, they were like, it's impossible. And I think they have some insight into how that's done, not necessarily what should be done, but how it's done. And they said, like, it's impossible to be that bad at recruiting in January. So, I don't know how much of that was Martin's handiwork or Martin with Sean Maloney. But yeah, just if that transfer window is indicative of anything for the summer, then I'm not optimistic at all. On AJ's front, though, I think there was recently a tweet about his younger brother suggesting him as like a signing for like a League of Ireland team, and AJ quote tweeted it and said, like, yeah, like, you guys should sign him. The closer to Glasgow, the better. And I took that as an indication that AJ intends on staying, actually, at least for another season, because he wants his brother to be nearby. So I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into that. But if there's one player I'm not necessarily worried about leaving that I want to stay, he's up there, I think. Again, but he could have the greatest World Cup ever for a right back, and at that point, if someone wants to spend 20-30 million on him, you have to say yes. But I don't know, I'm a little bit more optimistic he's staying put. It's just elsewhere, obviously.
I would love to see him stay. I think he's like future captain. Like,
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
easily
exactly.
future captain, Celtic. Like, your cat's attacking your flags, Shaun.
Yeah, I just kind of like her doing her thing. That's her name's Saoirse. She's so.
Chris, I got this comment from Andrew. From I think he's Melbourne. Does Calmac stay? And do you want him to stay really in that position?
I mean, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I would. I don't know. I would like him to stay, just because he's our captain. He's been there. He's done all of the things. He's this, that, and the other. But I mean, to be honest, how many times this season did we talk about how slow he was?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How many times did we go, man? How many matches did he play this season? Was it 75? Like
Something crazy like that, yeah.
Like it's some crazy amount of games that he's playing, and it's like
75 every season. Like,
yeah, like I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to see players burn out before their time is done. But I mean, I don't know, man. I'm if he makes the decision and goes elsewhere, I'm going to be happy for him, because he's going to be doing something that he wants to do. But if he wants to stay at Celtic, that's fine. But man, we need to find a defensive midfielder at that number 6 that's going to be able to reinforce and play the way that we've typically held that position. Bruni and Calmac or whatever, Victor Wanyama.
Oh, I would love a Victor Wanyama.
Oh, 100%.
2012, 2013 Victor Wanyama.
Yeah, specifically that year.
Yeah. So I mean, just going through this list kind of does show you like how like it's such a big, and I haven't even gotten to the wingers and the strikers who, if we lose Dyson and Iheanacho, we don't bring back, which is likely. I mean, I did see that he might want to come back, but like I don't know if I trust any of that stuff. But like then you're stuck with Callum Osmond and Johnny Kenny coming back from Bolton as a new signing.
Well, he was tearing it up down there. There were some Bolton fans who they came into like the Celtic subreddit, and they were like, "He's been doing great for us." Like, and we were just to be like, "That's good, but I think he's found his level."
Yeah, right.
I am optimistic to see more of Callum Osmond. I know there was a transfer rumor with him. Yeah, David, I would like to, because we're trying to save up for a house, and that's tough these days. So if anyone's got Dermot Desmond's BlackBerry, because I know he probably doesn't use a modern device of any kind, please let me know, and we'll get her a physical. But no, you can't replace Dyson.
Would you sell the cat? Would you sell your cat?
Hey man, like it's a recession, and we're also getting married too, me and my fiance, and we don't know how we're gonna pay for that yet. So no, but
selling your cat to Dermot Desmond sounds like a bad deal.
Now that you put it that way, I'm standing firm. I've actually decided I'm a principled man who won't let anyone buy me. I can't be bought.
Unless your cat has a big World Cup. And
yeah. But yeah, I hope that transfer rumor with Callum Osmond's nonsense, and we get to see more of him healthy. I think Iheanacho's a tough one, because I think we forget that he's only 29. He looks a lot older. He moves a lot older. But if you can determine if he's able to get to a level of fitness that's a little bit more respectable, and B, like, as far as I'm concerned, if you can only play 30, 45 minutes a match, then you're getting 30 to 45 minutes worth of wages relative to what you were previously on. That's kind of how I feel. That's one area in which I wouldn't blame the Celtic board for being stingy. But if you can get them back to a point where you can get 60, 70 minutes I wouldn't mind re-signing him and taking a punt on, seeing if we can revitalize his career. But again, that's all knowledge I don't have. Really, what I would want is like a new striker. I know we were linked with the guy from Bodo Glimt, but again, I think there's another guy in the Swiss, the Swiss second division, which is like, I don't know enough about how competitive that league is to say one way or the other. But really, what I want is a fresh new striker and hopefully a promising one. And in Dysen's case, you can't really replace Dysen. That's just not going to happen. He's one of a kind.
He really is.
But again, that doesn't mean you don't go out and try to find a good winger. A lot of people have been burying Sebastian Tinekti because of I can never pronounce his name right. Because of the fact that he just could never. He was an impact player, but whenever he started, he just played horribly. And I get it, but part of me wonders like, why can't I could kind of see him having like a Yang-esque trajectory where people were convinced Yang wasn't at it, and then this year he played actually pretty well. He won goal of the year in a match, albeit we lost, but he was great in the post split fixtures. And for a while there, people were out on him totally, especially in our CSC WhatsApp. He was the target of lots of abuse. So I'm not completely convinced. I think you got to give Tinekti one more shot and see if he can't improve, see if he can't again have sort of a Yang progression to a more serviceable winger. You still need a new one. But I feel like people have been very harsh on Tinekti because he had a couple flashes of brilliance. He had that great goal against Kilmarnock in that comeback, and I think he's a great dribbler. I think there's potential there. We're just going to need to see a lot more of it. I don't think he's a total complete dud yet.
No, I agree. I thought he started off, I think, pretty well, and then kind of fell off into more of where he was more successful as a substitute, But yeah, I don't know. But like I said, I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Right now, the club's on holiday, and
exactly.
And not
Just
even
get a manager first.
Not even telling us who the manager is when seemingly we have a manager. You're right, and it goes back, and we've talked about it, and I think almost every week. It's just the insane lack of communication from the club.
We don't know.
Nobody tells us anything.
And no one's reporting anything either. No one's leaking anything.
That's kind of impressive to me that we haven't heard anything but really, I guess, speculation with a shred of maybe information that they got, but who knows?
It's very frustrating. It's and I don't we haven't seen Nicholson. I think he spoke a little bit around the time of Nancy, but other than that, you don't hear him talk at all. You heard Wilson come out a lot more. Not a lot. I would say a decent amount towards the end of the season as kind of almost a liaison to the fan to give us some information. But it's pulling teeth getting any information out of anybody at the club. You're not hearing from Desmond at all, and you probably never will.
I'm going to put it on the Scottish press. They need to step it up, start following people in their cars.
More, yeah. I don't know. I just
it's frustrating, and I'll agree with this from Andrew too. You're gonna have to spend money to get a solid win. If we're shopping in the Swiss second division, for a guy, he said he had 20 goals, and but then in the same breath, if we're talking Johnny Kenny has found his level playing for Bolton. That's probably a higher level than the Swiss second division.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. Yeah.
But yeah, so we're bitching about Celtic again, like I said. we had a good 4 weeks of
happiness and joy.
We're really positive. I I tried to get one of our guys to call in from New Orleans, but I guess he didn't get my text. So I'll throw up a picture, which it does look cool, and they did like the Bourbon Street parade today, and that would have been cool, I think, to do. The whole
you gotta pixelate and blur out the faces like the Green Brigade Instagram does, and so you don't implicate anybody.
I put them off on the back. No names, everybody from the back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure that's a great time. Like, have you, Shaun? Have you ever done any of the Celtic conventions, like in Vegas or?
No. I do have a great story about why I'm into Celtic. The end of the Invincibles year, we had the CSC in San Francisco had our end of year barbecue, and that year was a Vegas convention. And at the time, I was an undergrad. I had no money, and I was talking to an older guy who was like kind of a member in absentia in the supporters club. Like he had stopped coming to matches, but he had just gotten to the point where getting up at 4 a.m. was too much for him. And we were talking about my first time ever meeting him. We were talking about everything Celtic, and he said like, "Oh, are you going to be in Vegas?" I'm like, "No, like I'm still in school. I really don't have the money for that." Blah 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 blah. And then he goes and he tells me, and again, I've been talking to this guy. I'd known him for 2 hours. He tells me, he's like, "If you can find your way to Vegas, I will put you up in a hotel room. I will make sure you have a place to stay." And
that's awesome.
That speaks volumes. It resonated with me.
Yeah.
I didn't end up making it out there, but yeah, that's just I've been aware of it. I know it's a huge thing. I've wanted to go. It's just the stars have never aligned. Detroit was actually my first event, if you want to call it that. And that, I mean, I had to, like, that's a 4-hour drive from here. I had been in Detroit a couple times. I had met Shaun Kelly at this point, like at least 3 or 4 times, and we connected on social media. Like, at this point, I consider him a good friend, so I had to be there. But that was the first time I was able to go to an event like that. And I know Vegas is coming up next year. I hope I can make it. It's just at this point, it just never lined up. Again,
you said you're gonna get married. There you go.
You know, it's funny. I had the thought, but I don't know if the missus would be on board with a Vegas, at least a Celtic/Vegas wedding. I think those two things in a bubble are fine, separate, but those two things combined, I don't know if she.
Not a good idea.
Yeah, but
not a good idea.
I mean, she'd be down to go to the convention, I'm sure. Just I don't think she wants that to be our wedding per se.
Well, we have to talk to the guy David who commented about your cat. He actually got married at the convention last year in Vegas.
Nice. Mazel tov! I'm happy for you, David. I just don't think my wife to be would necessarily. That's what she envisioned her fairy tale wedding be when she was a kid.
Yeah, I think you need the right matchup there to be able to make that happen. But yeah, David's a Philly. He's in a Philly. He's in the Plowboys. So like I know, I've seen pictures from their wedding. Looks like a great time.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about going to the Vegas convention for years, but just it's the stars never aligned. Same with like New Orleans. Like they did a New Orleans. It was like 10 years ago too. It was like 2016, 2017, something like that. That they did one one Offseason in New Orleans too. That been great to go to. It's just, I mean, time off from work and money and stars not aligning.
It just never did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like, I love Celtic. I just don't love Vegas in June. And I'm a bit of a wet blanket. I'm not gonna lie. I don't drink and I don't gamble. I know that makes me a bit of an anomaly in the Celtic world, but So it's if there's one draw Vegas has it all, it's the fact that they have a Celtic convention. Otherwise, I've been a couple times. I'm good, never going back.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't gamble. I do drink, but
yeah,
admittedly, just a little. Happy anniversary, David, by the way. So.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, I'm not a big Vegas fan either, especially in June. I think that was the last time I was there. I think it was in July. It was like 115 degrees when I was walking around the street with my teenage kids, and it was like, I'm like, we got to get out of here. Let's find a national park to hike around. That's probably also 115 degrees, but at least we're not.
At that point, you get like a Camelback and just put liquid IV in it so that you don't pass out and throw up everywhere. It's not fun, yeah.
I guess last thing, and I'll throw up some comments from just people. I don't know how into the World Cup you guys are, and I'll throw up. I'm kind of anti-World Cup. I'm very anti-World Cup, but. Will you guys be watching? Mike, are you an international fan, and will you be watching?
I'll be watching the Celtic players. I mean, that's my goal, is just to see who from the team is going to play. I'm interested in watching Canada and Scotland and America probably the most. But yeah, I don't watch every match, but if it's on, I'll watch.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the World Cup is what kind of got me into Celtic back in 2002. Watching Ireland, I was more an Ireland, international team fan at the time, and that's how I got into them. Watching them at a CSC down in the New Jersey Shore, and but now I haven't watched any really the last couple of years, and I'm particularly anti the World Cup this year just because I feel like it's just too.
It's a shit show. Yeah.
It's a shit show. There's players getting, having problems getting over here. Referees getting sent home. Like I think it's outrageous and I think I said it last week. Like if you're not willing to accommodate the players, teams, officials for a tournament, you shouldn't be able to host it. Like I think it's an abomination that the United States is allowed to host the tournament at this stage. So, but I think I've made that point clear a lot on social media, like how I felt about that.
You should see how many people are at the matches. I don't know. It's other than the U.S. one, I think we're going to see a lot of empty stadiums.
Yeah, and that's what Paul's causing some problems in the there's some bickering going on in our chat.
Oh yeah, paying attention. It's it's quite the battle.
Scottish fans, you've seen that too, like fans, and I've seen some of those posts in our WhatsApp group, like for Scottish guys who paid a fortune in hotels and tickets and all that and everything getting over here, and then a couple days beforehand weren't able to travel over because their whatever ESTA status got changed from like that they weren't allowed to come over here, and that's probably happening for other countries too. You would think like it's like we probably hear the Scottish stories just because we're more in tune with that crowd, like following Celtic. But I just think it's I mean, it's not a surprise based on the administration, but try not to get too political on this show. Sometimes I can't help it.
I mean, it's hard not. Yeah, everything's political, and I think we're all on the same page here. I think it's an absolute disgrace what's been going on. There's nothing more I can add to that discourse other than to say, yeah, I agree. I think it's a travesty. With that being said, it's hard not to have affinity for the Scottish national team, just the connection there.
Right.
Celtic players, having a lot of Scottish friends who are like our Paul is going over for that, at least the Haiti match. And I plan on at least, because our home pub is hosting the Scotland matches, I plan on at least going to one to see if we can't attract new members, like in case anyone hasn't already come through, just because the kickoff time is going to be more forgiving. So I plan on being there representing the club to see if anyone new would be interested. I'm sure we'll run into some, Hun fans and others who aren't necessarily keen, but still, I just want to make sure that there isn't anyone we're missing out on. And again, like a couple of our Scottish members, people who are originally from Scotland now live in Chicago, are going to be at the matches. So
Awesome.
to that end, yes, and like Mike said, I'm interested to see how Celtic players fare. That's pretty much the extent of my personal emotional investment in international football. I've never really cared about the U.S. men's national team. It just doesn't resonate with me. But I still want to see our guys, doing well for their respective countries. But yeah, I just think, it's everything else surrounding it. It's become a complete joke.
Yeah.
And Cabbage, I don't know what you mean by the cuckoo's nest, but I do have a guess.
I think that's
Metro.
American.
Yeah, I put you up. I've had people, Scottish guys, who wanted to come over, and they're like, "How close are you to Miami?" I'm like, "Not close at all." I mean, you can stay here if you want. I'm a little closer to Boston, but even that, I don't know if it's.
It is.
But yeah, Cabbage, you can stay at my place. I got a good bar in my basement. We can watch the games together. Even though I'm not, I'll let you down here. You can watch it yourself because I have promised that I won't watch a second of the tournament. But yeah, Scotland's in Boston for 2 games, so and Miami against Brazil for the other one. So, but I like your plan, Shaun, too, and that's I feel like that's taking on the Sean Kelly strategy of building a CSC. It's like he uses Detroit City, and bringing guys in from anywhere really to just introduce them to the club. And I think a lot of times once you introduce it, people get hooked right away. Maybe not everybody, but you're going to hook some people.
That's part of it, but it's also to see if there are any people out there who might be Celtic supporters who don't necessarily come to the pub because of the kickoff times and are going to be there for the Scotland match because it's actually something they can make. So that's the bigger part of it, I'd say. Like, just making sure, being like, hey, like, I know getting up at 6 a.m. on Saturday isn't everyone's thing, but we're here. We're always going to be here. We'd love to see you. And I don't know.
Yeah, here in Cincinnati, the FC Cincinnati is partnering with the city to show some of the matches at Fountain Square, which, if you haven't been to Cincinnati, it's like the big center city kind of park with the giant fountain, big gathering area, and one of the matches they're showing is a Scotland match. So I'm hoping that I can get some folks to hang out down there with the jerseys on and hopefully meet some folks.
That's good.
Slabber and Cabbage, I got your back. Except I do have family members who are kind of involved with ICE, so. But I'd still protect you.
I got you, man. You come to my house. Nobody's going to get you here.
But yeah. So, I mean, last thing I want to point out before we wrap up, and we mentioned Bobby earlier in the show, and I'm kind of pissed at him because last week he was on, and I think I came in second place in the facial hair game. And I got no credit for it during the show. And now he comes back on to slag me for being in last place again, which I am almost every week, admittedly. But last week, I think I was pretty easily in second place, and I got no call out for it whatsoever. So fuck you, Bobby.
None of us can measure up to Chris.
No, Chris has always got number one, but it's
there's some people that could beat me though. There's some people that could beat me.
I don't know.
You're very much playing the role of the Appalachian mountain man. With the,
I like.
We talked about this.
I like to keep people guessing. I think that's the biggest thing.
We talked about this in Detroit. My fiance's an alum of Appalachian State, and they got a mascot, Yosef, who's got the big me beard and the cob pipe. And I say you could probably do that for Halloween one year.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Chris hates App State, man.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, to be fair,
he's a Georgia Southern guy.
Yeah, I'm a Georgia Southern alumni, so I'm an Eagle through and through. So
yeah, that story rivalry that we all know about.
Like some bloody Irk Russell quotes that I can start naming off. But no, I like the whole Appalachian State. Their mascot and the way that I look and everything. It's always interesting to me when people like I remember when I was in Scotland. A guy picked me up, and I was on my way to Celtic Park. Actually, at the time, I was walking to the match. I hailed a cab because I got kind of lost in Gorbals, which is not a good thing to do sometimes, I guess. But anyway, I was by myself. I got picked up from a cab, and the cab driver that picked me up, we're having this conversation, and as soon as I opened my mouth, he's instantly was like, "Oh, you're American, like a Southerner," and we start going back and forth and everything, and he asked if I was like, going to the Celtic match. I'm like, "Yeah, of course. I've got this, like I've got this bag full of groceries I'm taking for the Green Brigade, the food drive they're doing or whatever," and like his eyes got like, biggest saucers or whatever, and he just couldn't believe that people, especially that have my accent, are of the same Celtic mind, right? Where, busting stereotypes, it's become one of my passions in life. I absolutely love it. And the reason I love it is because at the very core of every human being is like, hey, I just want the best for you, and I want you to have the best for me. Like, there's a sense of connection that people have, when you can break through those stereotypes and see people as people, no matter where they're from and who they are. And that's so much of the ethos that I follow Celtic with, right? So, me having like there was a picture. I'm not going to say his full name, but he ran the Glasgow Central Station.
It's
the
Paul.
Paul.
Was it Paul
Lyons? Yeah, but
Paul Lyons. Yeah.
And we've been talking for years online or whatever, and my wife and I we make it, and I'm texting him, and we take the tour of the Central Station, and it's a brilliant tour. If you ever get a chance to do it, it's phenomenal. But we get through the whole thing, and he and I are talking, and it's like, how is it that I'm on the other side of the world and I sound different, my dialect's different, and I've got a big beard, and he had a big beard at the time, and we took this picture, and it was like a shared brotherhood, right? And that's what Celtic does more better than anybody else on the planet, is that shared sense of camaraderie. And I'm just I don't know, I start drinking and I start going off on tangents like this, but the fact of the matter is that I think busting these stereotypes is exactly why doing what we're doing and building the clubs that we are everywhere is that we're building that community, no matter where it may be, and that's the important thing for me.
Yeah, dude, you said it perfectly. Like and that's, I feel like, kind of why we do this show. So
yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, like I know Mike. We hung out while we were in Detroit, but I mean, I would 100%. You want to come to my house and hang out? And do the same. I mean,
yeah, likewise.
It's that instant, that undercurrent that Celtic does that to me better than anything else on the planet. So just happy days. Ready for the World Cup.
Yep. Chris, keep talking. I gotta take a pee break.
Oh,
We're losing.
I'll be right back.
Two down.
Shaun,
I'm
me
good.
and Shaun too. I'll be right back.
Oh,
Chris, if
we're
you have
still
to
live?
go, I could
Oh, no, I'm good.
maintain it.
I don't have any controls either, so I can't see any of the comments. I'm sure the comments tonight have been great. I can't wait to read them tomorrow.
Yeah. It's definitely been entertaining.
I can't help but feel partially responsible for that. I said in the chat that I was about to burst.
Your eyeballs floated to the top of your head.
Just about. But no, like to your point, Chris, I feel the same way. In terms of like my North American Celtic connection, like I befriended Sean Kelly from Detroit through, going over there because the Giants are playing the Tigers in a 3-game series, and I now residing in the Midwest, took Amtrak out there. I was like, I'm gonna go see, I'm gonna see the Giants play, and if I can find a place to watch Celtic this weekend, I'm gonna do that. I showed up. We immediately hit it off, and now I think like several times, like we've met up, not even for Celtic related things. Like he was in town with his wife for like some sort of wine event, and I said, by all means, please stay with me. Like I don't spend money on a hotel. Like, and then he was able to return the favor when me and my fiance were in Detroit for a festival. He let us stay at his place, like my little story about Vegas. And then when I was over in Scotland a couple times now, like my first time there at Celtic Park, I got onto a supporters bus from Edinburgh, and people were just like fascinated hearing my story, hearing my connection, and they all wanted me to like come and hang out. I made the mistake of going to the match the day after I flew in from the States, so I was still jet lagged. I had to turn a couple people down, but just people showing that kindness right away. And on this most recent trip, I actually went to I don't know if you see it on Instagram. It's called the Glasgow Celtic Wear. They have a brick and mortar resale shop for like old retro Celtic shirts. We popped in, and we had what felt like must have been like a hour-long conversation with the guy who owns the shop and his dad. They were there that day, and we had to cut them off and say, hey, thank you so much for this lovely conversation, but you're making us late to our next thing. Like they were so willing to just like chop it up and talk about everything Celtic and hear our story. And I've been to Glasgow twice now, and I've been so impressed with the kindness and hospitality we've been shown, especially since like someone in the comments mentioned like our America's reputation throughout the world right now is like pretty poor. And we were on our most recent trip a couple weeks ago. We were in Denmark, in Copenhagen, and we got a couple weird comments, snide looks from people who didn't approve of us being Americans, and they just assumed because we were Trump-loving, people who wanted to steal Greenland away from them. So, but I can honestly say in Glasgow that was never my experience. They were so friendly. Even people who weren't talking to us about Celtic. Such a like for a place that used to be the murder capital of Europe, it's really hospitable to visitors. They were incredible there. I again, just the nicest city I've ever traveled to, and I've been around. So it's and then having that Celtic connection kind of puts it over the top. And I'm a little like self-conscious about like, okay, like it's not like my family's from Glasgow. My Irish ancestry is very distant. So it may seem a little silly to some people, but I've never gotten that from anybody over there. They've been so kind, and I don't know. It's just one of those things that kind of like shows you how great and interconnected humanity can be from across the world.
Club open to all.
Yeah, exactly.
I've almost never gotten that either. I mean, I haven't been over to Glasgow, but I mean, you get that from just hanging out with Scots and Irish guys over here in New York and Boston and Philly, wherever. Like, it's rare that you get. I feel like everybody appreciates your and just social media, like, and you kind of see it in the comments, like on the podcast, like people who find this show and they're like I'm floored that there's people from everywhere and and they like Chris with the accent, like I love the accents, particularly Chris's, like Chris, like, and I think they appreciate for the most part, like that Celtic, like they support Celtic in Glasgow, and it's just so worldwide that it's everywhere, and we say that every week, like we are really everywhere. And yeah, so sorry I had to run out to go to the bathroom. There was about to be a puddle on the floor.
Yeah.
I didn't time my drinks tonight very well, apparently.
Neither did I.
Because we've gone like 3 hours a couple times and I've made it. But so I don't know what was wrong with me tonight. But so yeah, 2 hours. Good job. We're gonna wrap it up there. It was awesome. Thanks guys for coming on. Thanks Mike for coming on and telling us about the Cincinnati.
Look forward to visiting.
Definitely.
Yeah. Come on up. Yep.
And like Ohio is becoming a hotbed. There's like, you got Cleveland. Cleveland's a phenomenal CSC. I still haven't been to Columbus and like dying to get there. I know, like me and Chris, we know a bunch of, and you got Shaun, and you met them all in Detroit. But we've hung out with Bobby and Jason and David a bunch of times, and like they're the best guys. And so Cleveland's a great CSC, so hopefully you can emulate some of that success that Detroit and Pittsburgh and like a lot of those new guys are having. Charleston too, like
Charleston's
there's a lot of growth in the CSCs over here, and I'd love to see it. And like what like Chris said, like we're here to we'll post pictures and shit on this podcast just to publicize you guys a little bit more. Not that we have this humongous outreach, but anything we can do will definitely help out. And thanks for Shaun for coming on. Thanks for pushing through your Michael Jordan performance. You were solid.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I hope I didn't take up too much of the oxygen blabbering away, but when it comes to Celtic, once I start, I can't stop.
No, I feel the same way. So and like Andrew, such a global club. That's why we should do it better in the CL, and that's
completely agree.
That's kind of our, at least my we just need to be a little more ambitious, and we're not. We're lazy and fall back on old habits, and it's about time we move forward a little bit. So, but I'll leave it there. Thanks for the comments tonight. Got a little chippy with some people I noticed in there, but I kind of let that go.
Saucy.
Yeah, it was a little saucy. But yeah, comments always, it's great putting the comments up there, and it helps feed the show. So, join us. We're going to be back next week. We'll have Steve from the Jersey Shore CSC, and then I'm working on a few other guys in that fourth spot. So we'll see about who goes there. Give a like and subscribe to the channel if you can, so you can help find us on Wednesday nights. We'll be back. We're typically, 99% of the time we're on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Last week we did Thursday, but so we're going to keep it going during the summer. We got at least the next few weeks planned out, and I got ideas for going into July. So stick with us, and we'll be back next week at 8 p.m. So cheers, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Check y'all off.